Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
We shall look at the divisional structure, and the divisional structure is usually designed around products, clients, territories. For example, you may have a division dealing with turbines, you may have a division dealing with jets. So, depending upon your product line, you create different types of a structure with specialization on products, or you can create a structure focused on clients. You can have a national account, you could have a division, you could have a regional account, you could have an account dealing with different types of industries. In complex organizations, it is a typical pattern. There may be divisions at the top of the hierarchy. Marketing division may be divided into industrial sales, governmental sales, and consumer sales division. Then there is the matrix form of an organization. This is a combination of a functional and a product departmentalization. In fact, the thing to register is that all divisions of an organization need not look the same. Your R&D division need not look like your marketing division. Your manufacturing division need not look like the finance division, and that is easy to understand because the purposes are different. This occurs frequently in construction, for example, building a bridge; in aerospace, designing and launching a weather satellite; in marketing, an advertising campaign for a new major project. This may be made more effective through defining objectives of project or tasks, clarifying the roles, authority, responsibilities of the managers and team members, selection of appropriate manager for leadership, undertaking organization and team development. In other words, the structure itself needs to be serviced. The structure itself needs to be kept alive, otherwise it can go dead. A matrix structure has its advantages. It has an orientation towards end results, maintenance of professional identification and efficient allocation of specialists, pinpointing product profit responsibility. After all, if it is a commercial organization, the objective is to make profits, and if you are not making profits, you cannot survive. But this does not mean that you make profits through standards, processes, methods which are not professional. Profits cannot be a goal in its own right if the other enabling conditions are not there, and that is the ethics part of an organization. We should be careful in confusing pursuit of profits with unbridled pursuit of profits. Pursuit of profits cannot be unbridled, it has to be bridled, it has to be kept under rein. Reins of what? What kind of rein? What kind of a leash? The leash is of professional ethics. You can't sell substandard products because you want profits. You can't promise things in the advertisement and not deliver because you want profits. The disadvantages are conflict in organization authority due to power struggles, possibility of discontinuity of command due to dual chain of command. Now, this is a matrix structure in a college of business administration. You have the undergraduate, postgraduate, PhD, research, executive development, company services, and then you have the functions: accounting, administration, studies, finance, IT, marketing, organizational behavior. This is a matrix structure. Let me illustrate to you some other types of structures which you need to be broadly aware of. This is a pyramidal structure, this is a pentagonal structure, this is a collegial structure. In each case you find that there are 5 jobs. Therefore, all the 5 jobs will have their 5 job designs, but these job designs are in a certain relationship. For example, here this is the top level, this is the medium level, this is the middle level, this is the bottom level, this would be the technical level, this would be administrative level. Yes, you people have caught on, and this would be the institutional level. Now, this would be clearly a pyramidal structure. If you put these 5 job designs in a relationship with each other, so that each job design has access to every other job design, this becomes a project structure. So, what is the difference between a pyramidal structure and a project structure? A pyramidal structure has a clear-cut hierarchy of institutional, administrative, and operational. But a project structure is a flat organization. A collegial structure is in a loose relationship. So, these are different types of organization structures. The important thing for you to understand is structures give shape to the organization. This is a matrix structure. Then there is a legal side of the structure. The last pure form of specialization is by legal entity. It must be so recognized. That is what is meant by this. Key elements of a proper structure therefore become work specialization, chain of command, span of control, centralization and decentralization. Therefore, if you are trying to understand a structure, you have to ask yourself, what is the kind of work specialization you have? You have to ask yourself, what is the kind of chain of command you have? What is the kind of span of control? And I will be shortly showing to you how the nature of the span of control can be altered to manage numbers in an organization. But wait till we come to that. What I wish you to register for the moment is that an organization can be a combination of centralization and decentralization. It can be a totally centralized organization, it can be a totally decentralized organization. In fact, these debates are spurious. No organization has the same kind of organization structure at each level. It will vary with functions, it will vary with territories, because you are not committed to a structure, you are committed to effectiveness, and if effectiveness requires different kinds of structures, then so be it. What is meant by work specialization? By work specialization, remember, we shall go down each one of these 4 in the remaining slides. Work specialization is the division of labor. It ensures sufficient utilization of skills of workers. Early 20th century Henry Ford utilized this concept in Ford Company. Remember, all along I am trying to show to you the application of a concept, because that is what management is about. Training is more efficient, easy and less costly if you have work specialization. You want to know what you want to train people for. What is a chain of command? Chain of command is an unbroken line of authority which extends from the top to the lowest level. So, it is a chain of command, and the word chain became so popular that they are today talking even of food chain. They are talking of an environmental chain, a very simple proposition to emphasize everything is linked with everything else. and if you alter one component, the remaining components also get shaken. It clarifies who reports to whom. It ensures authority, responsibility, and unity of command. Now, of course, the unity of command is a proposition which has been variously discussed and explained. There need not be always a unity of command, there can be a duality of command, but then the streaming has to be different. You can't have duality of command in the same function. You can have duality of command for referent purposes. If you want to get the knowledge in engineering of a given type, there is a command through which you pass, but if you are sanctioning leave, you can't have two persons sanctioning leave. Therefore, if there is duality of command, there will be a difference in the nature of the command. That is the larger point I am trying to make. This ensures authority, responsibility, and unity of command, and I have just explained to you the meaning of unity of command here. Span of control determines the number of levels and managers, number of managers to the total operative level employees, and wider spans reduce effectiveness due to lack of leadership and support. Now, how far should your span of control extend, and there are varying views. My own thinking on the subject is your span of control should be a factor of your span of concentration. There is no point in giving you a span of control which your concentration or cognitive system is not able to grasp. You are not able to pay attention. A problem which can be typically understood in a classroom situation. If you create a classroom situation without adequate technological support, then you can't watch which side a student is looking while you are talking, can you? Am I correct? So, the numbers in a class must match your span of concentration. And if you are not going to match the span of concentration with the numbers of the class, and you do not provide enough technological support, then you will have people who are looking other side while a lecture is going on. What a testimony to the quality of the lecture itself. But that is only half the story. The other half is the student perhaps need not be there at all, or a student dozes off, not because the lecture quality is this, that, or the other, but he is just not able to grasp what is going on. He got in there because his mama wanted him to do an MBA. Now, what do you do with such characters? Go back to what I was talking about, structures. Weed them. Not only do you weed them, but you also make sure that the numbers stay appropriate to the span of concentration. So, span of concentration is a very, very important ingredient of effectiveness. It should be manageable. If that is the story in a classroom situation, how much more so it would be in an industrial situation, in a commercial situation. Do you know what the people reporting to you are doing? Do you know the quality of their work? Do you know the quality of their problem? Why aren't they able to pay attention? Because there can be all sorts of reasons. If they are not able to pay attention because they are simply not capable, why do you have them there? Because you can't run an organization like a Goshala. If you run an organization like a Goshala, it will become a Goshala. People have got to earn their salaries. What is the value he is adding to the process? And what would happen if you didn't have him? In fact, the question should go far beyond. Is it possible to have somebody there who will do the job better than him for the same salary? Or indeed, can you have somebody there who with a little more pay will do the job 3 times better, which is what has led to a lot of differentiated salary structures to the same job. And that is where again human resources has to lead an organization, because it is the quality of your human resources decisions that will determine the quality of your decisions in manufacturing, not very often realized. Which is why very many organizations beat analysis, beat interpretation, and they are not able to make out why isn't this organization producing results. The span of control means that small spans ensure a close control, but these are not cost effective. Usually you put more and more people, and if you put more and more people again at the cost of effectiveness, the trade off and the balance has to be how much investment for what kind of return, for what kind of equilibrium. That is management. Vertical communication in organization becomes a complex situation, because people at different levels of the organization may begin reflecting different levels of competency, of comprehension. So, what is intelligible at the institutional level may not be understood at the technical level, and the approach is very simple. What you do not understand is all wrong. The reality may be very different. What you do not understand may be the critical element of the situation. Now, obviously, the owners of the organization will have to take a control take a call on that. Tight supervision discourages employee autonomy, but employee autonomy itself cannot be the rule. Autonomy has to have a purpose. Do not try to run life on one-liners. Look before you leap, but who hesitates is lost. Now, tell me which is true. Two heads are better than one, but too many cooks spoil the broth. Which is what leads me to a major submission, especially for the people who are enamored of statistical techniques and statistical techniques alone. You can't measure everything in life. And ultimately, most critical decisions are judgmental in character. Who you should marry, one of the biggest decisions of life, try to calculate it. Bad luck if you are a statistician. Which job you should take? This is the salary, this is the carry home, this is the pay packet, this is the house. At the end of the day, you find that you are shoveling coal the whole day. I have had cases of people who abandoned a medium scale organization here to go and work in an organization in a post industrial environment, writing back after 3 months, sir, will you speak to the managing director so that I can come back? But you went abroad, and for Indians going abroad is such a great achievement. It is the ultimate achievement in life. Why do you want to come back to India? The trouble is they all want to come back to India at different points of time for different reasons. There should be some sort of a bar. You say that, they say, no, how can you do it? Was I any idiot to be born here, to stay here and to make my career, and was that person the smart? I do not want to open that debate. But the fact of the matter is, the proposition which you have got to register while talking of organization structure, nature and consequences is that ultimately no matter how carefully you define it, there is no substitute for good judgment in management. I am sorry. And judgment can only be perfected through openness to feedback and continuous practice. You have to train yourself to be a good manager, and you have to learn from your own successes and your own failures to know what works with you. Because let me tell you, the final dampener in structured management instruction: nothing works for everyone. What works for you may not work for somebody else, and what works for somebody else may not work for you. Every decision making practice, every selection of even a tool has to be personalized. And that's ultimate management, to know what works for you, to know what works for your organization, and ultimately what works with the people you are working with. You try the same technique everywhere, it won't work. And if I might submit, the way you design your structure will be a factor of the type of people that are there, the type of product line you are in, the type of geography you are in, the type of customers you have. There is no such thing as best practices. In fact, the concept of best practices itself needs a revision. Now, here is an example which shows to you what happens if the span of control is a factor of 4 as compared to a span of control which is a factor of 8. In both cases, you end up with 4096, and if you are at all good at statistics, and I know very many senior people who believe no quantification, no management. If you can't calculate, you are a bad management scholar. So, I have to respond to all types of audiences. So, those who believe in statistics and more statistics and still more statistics, this diagram should delight them, because it shows alternate statistical routes to arrive at 4096. In one case, the pyramid has a span of 4, in another case it has a span of 8. What is the purpose of bringing it into study of organization structures? In one case you will have 6 levels, in another case you will have 4 levels. Study the diagram carefully to understand this exercise. Therefore, your span of control becomes a factor of the number of levels. If you want a smaller span of control, as you want only 4 people as in your span of control, then you are bound to go in to 6 levels. If you have a wider span of control, the number of levels get reduced. Therefore, the number of levels in an organization are not just a factor of institutional, administrative and technical, but at each of those levels you can have more than one level, which leads to a very important concept, which is so much the motivating force for a lot of people. You can have a grade promotion and you can have a level promotion. There is a difference between a grade promotion and a level promotion. It is not my job to explain that here, but it is my job to tell you that this whole business of level promotion and grade promotion is a factor of the type of organizational structure which a given organization has. We shall also spend some time talking of centralization and decentralization. Centralization has to do with the degree to which decision making is concentrated at a single point in the organization. Top management makes key decisions. Lower level managers merely carry out top management directives. Decision making responsibility is moved upwards in the hierarchy. Therefore, everything gets remitted to the top. Now, again, there is nothing virtuous about a centralized organization. By the same token, I will be saying this to you when I discuss decentralization. I will be also telling you there is nothing virtuous about a decentralized type of an organization structure. In fact, goes back to my favorite theme, no value judgments. You can't say this is good, that is bad. In management, nothing is good, nothing is bad. Given a professional bottom line, that which works is good, that which does not work is bad. And please do not forget, I prefaced it by saying given a professional bottom line. Do not turn around and say in your lecture you have to say that which works is good, therefore, I will do whatever works. Oh no, you do not do that. You stay professionally correct, because if professionally you are not ethical, then you deserve to be thrown out of the profession. Very simple, nothing complicated about it. And I frankly do not care what is the punishment which visits you, so long as you are out of the profession. You are not worthy to be in that profession, period. If that takes you to jail, so be it. If that imposes a fine on you, so be it. If that disqualifies you for a return to the profession forever and ever, so be it. There is no such thing as organizational fixing. In fact, the truth is there should be no such thing as match fixing either. Nothing professional about it. A profession has to be conducted professionally. You can't be fixing profits. Oh no, the profits have to come on their own through what your organization is rendering as a product or service. The meaning of decentralization: lower level personnel can provide inputs and can act closely with the top management. The advantages are effective communication, participatory decision making, higher employee productivity, higher subordinate satisfaction, quicker response to a series of unrelated problems, assists the subordinates for higher level positions. Now, of course, decentralization is the stylized thing, that is the fashion. Everyone is talking of empowerment. In fact, if you say you are against empowerment, you are a heretic. You say anything against decentralization, what kind of a person is he? He is against decentralization. So, in the next round, if I am being attacked in my bunker by the jet of the enemy, I quickly call a meeting of all the people in the trenches and ask them, now what should we do? All of you are empowered, tell me. And then we have a discussion by which we have been bombed out of the surface of the earth. Good heavens! I refuse to consult. I see the bombers arriving and I simply say, shoot. Fell the plane. Anti-aircraft guns to swing into action. And the fellow stands there and says, no, 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 no. I believe in participatory management. Show me the aircraft first. Sir, you have a radar, I don't have a radar. I don't know. Now, if that's the kind of a situation, then all I can say is God bless. In other words, there is nothing virtuous about centralized management. There is nothing virtuous about decentralized management. Go centralized when the situation needs it, go decentralized when the situation needs that. Prepare your people for both. It is a misplaced ego which constantly is asking for decentralization. And there may be very popular phrases doing the rounds politically and socially. Believe me, management is a profession, there is no scope for it. Empowerment, yes, but tell me what it does for the objectives for which the organization was formed. If it fulfills those objectives, by all means practice empowerment. If it does not, forget it. There is a difference in the way in which a society works and the way in which an organization works, and you can't confuse the two. Therefore, so much for decentralization. Integrated view of organizational structures takes you back to something which you have learnt elsewhere also, mechanistic structures and organic structures, and this is a very important concept in nature and consequences of structures. Mechanistic structures are usually wooden structures. It is characterized by extensive departmentalization, high formalization, limited information network, high centralization, little participation by low level members in decision making. Now, if you have these qualities, then this is a mechanistic structure, but you can have an organic structure. But before we come to the organic structure, a mechanistic structure will need a diagram. This represents it diagrammatically, very neat, very proper, very correct. Let me tell you, it almost never works. And I am using the word almost deliberately. Sometimes in a rare case it may work. Life is never so neat. At the end of the day, please remember two things. All organizations will need people. There is no such thing as a people-less organization. And people will be people. They will not come to you in standardized ISI packages. They do not make them. Worse, they cannot make them. So, what do? You realize that at the best you can create a broad band so that the deviations and the fluctuations are kept under control and the deviants go out. You cannot have the behavior, you can have only a broad band of behavior. You can only have a range of performance, you can't have everyone performing at the same level. Machines can perform consistently, even the same person will perform differently at different points of time. So, you have to create systems which incorporates it. The future of mechanistic structure is with rigid hierarchical relationships, fixed duties, high consistency, specific communication channels, centralized decision authority. It can be only used selectively. It has some advantages. It is not as if the mechanistic organization has no advantages. It emphasizes on vertical specialization, well documented rules, procedures, policies, has well documented control systems. When the neck turns 30 degrees, you get hit on the forehead. Wow, perfect control mechanism. So, you do not turn 30 degrees, you turn 29 degrees, you silly, and you hold it there, because that is what you can get out of. Now, a mechanistic system will also need the threshold to be crossed before it hits you. So, the smarter person in a mechanistic system just stops one short of the violation. Very simple, you are not permitted to buy goods more than 50,000 rupees. So, you buy twice, 24,000 rupees each. I am not spilling any beans. This is the standard way of beating the mechanistic system. You do not have to be a management genius to understand that. So, you have to ask, is a mechanistic system worth it? Yes, it is in certain specialized circumstances. When the crossing of the threshold can be a very dangerous proposition for the organization. And people must stop one step short of that, because if you cross that, you have had it. Strong middle management supported by centralized staff, specific techniques for decision making brings in efficiency. So, there is a certain advantage of the mechanistic system, but it has its limitations. Employees dislike rigid designs, which makes work motivation problematic. The biggest problem of rigid systems is obviously the obverse. You can't have variety. Without variety, you get bored. Unions may further solidify rigid designs. Okay, so, this is the design the management wants, this is what we want. Now, how do you get them both to talking table? Because if you meet, you have to meet to communicate. You communicate with each other. You can't be talking at each other, and if you are talking at each other, there is no communication, it will not work. Key employees may leave. They may say, this organization does not suit me. Low organization's capacity to adjust with environmental changes or emerging new technologies, therefore, it lowers flexibility. Now, let us look at organic structures. Organic structures look a lot like boundaryless organizations, but they are not really boundaryless. It is just that the boundaries are not very visible. Organic structures require a lot of self control, require a lot of self discipline, are very often having a strong component of informal systems, which never get loud enough or institutionalized enough to get formalized, but are always there, especially with networks in the organization. Organic structures can also be flat type of organizations. It has very often low formalization, but it asks for increase in coordination, possesses a comprehensive information network. It has high participation in decision making. Now, again, there is nothing pious about organic structures. There may be product lines, there may be marketing organizations requiring to be organic because the client system requires it. And at the end of the day, it will all boil down to information systems. How does the organization collect its information? How does the organization process its data? Sorry. How does an organization enable participation? Participation itself is a factor of information. So, there is a close correlation between information and structures, something which many managers overlook. And your design of the structure will be designed and influenced also by the design of information flows. So, information and structures have an interactory relationship, and that is something which needs to be accepted. High participation requires information, comprehensive information is required for network, coordination requires information, low formalization requires high information. What does not? And the defining characteristic of information is, if your structures are not good enough to handle it, it will create its own structural network. I will give you an example. You get admitted to a prestigious university which you consider prestigious, forget whether it is prestigious or not. You get admitted to a prestigious university, which I said you consider prestigious, your community consider prestigious, the locality where you stay considers it prestigious. Therefore, the moment it happens, everyone in your family is running around saying, you know, so and so has got admitted in this place. And you get sent down for 2 months because you have not conducted yourself with appropriate degree of professionalism, and you are back home. Nobody will know why you are back home. Or what is Tejinder doing here? Nothing, he is just on a visit. Visit for 2 months at this time of the year? No, he was feeling lonely. He just thought he will come and spend some time here. That nobody gets to know. There are laws of information flows. Exchange of information which will have a favorable consequence is very quickly transmitted. Information which will have a negative consequence is very slowly transferred. Part of organic structures. The process itself acquires life, greater speed with favorable consequences, lesser speed with unfavorable consequences. What are the limitations? Employees dislike rigid structures which make work motivation problematic. Unions may, this is the example of organic structures. You see here again the pentagonal form, the inverted pyramid, the square, the inverted. These are organic structures which come out of an organismic existence. What are the advantages? It has low hierarchical differentiation. It has collaboration, both vertical and horizontal. It has adaptable duties, people step in for each other. Procedures are minimal, and those that do exist are not highly formalized. Now, clearly you can't do this in an organization which is dealing with blast furnace. The safety considerations are too high. You can't do it where there is a saw at work. You can't do it where a wrong combination of chemicals will cause an explosion. You can't say procedures are minimal and those that exist are not highly formalized. You are running a risk. That will need a mechanistic response. So, at the end of the day, like everything else, the organic and the mechanistic have to be mixed in a deft combination depending upon the tasks involved. And again, there are no ideal prescriptions. It is a practice which is required. Decentralized decision authority. Now, if you give the decision authority to somebody who does not know the consequences of that decision, then you face the music. It is no point saying, I did not realize. It is good for problem solving and serving individual customer needs. It is good at detecting external changes and adjusting to new technologies. So, ultimately here again the objectives decides the selection. And as we begin to wind up this session, it should be fairly becoming obvious to you that at the end of the day, given the professional bottom line, it is the pursuit of objectives which enables the selection of the structure, which indeed enables the selection of the process, which indeed enables the selection of any type you wish. Organic structures are good at detecting external changes and adjusting to new technologies. They do it quicker, because they are more deft, they are more nimble, they are more operationally effective. What are the limitations? Lower level of rules and regulations are needed, therefore, there is fuzziness and people do take advantage of it. They do something, you take it off, they say, but I did not know. Now, are you supposed to know that you should come dressed neatly? Do you need a dress code to be told you can't be wearing trousers which are up to your knees on one leg and up to your ankle in another leg? I did not know. Is there a rule against this? No, there is no rule against it. You simply go back home. You can't send me home. I just send you home. In other words, at the end of the day, we go back again to the basic principle. There is no alternative to good sense, common sense, and self-regulatory people. You can't run an organization on the basis of policing. Policing has to be just an option for the delinquent. Imagine a square where two roads cross each other, where everyone is determined to follow his own rules. What is the result? A traffic jam. Not so unusual. Everyone believes that he will be able to rush ahead by taking a small curve and rushing ahead of the other one. You do that, everyone does it, everyone blocks everyone else. Then what do? You sit there for as long as it takes for people to develop good sense. Very simple. That traffic jam will continue till somebody has the good sense to say, please push your car, please step aside, let the flow get back. That is how important common sense is. That is how important good sense is. That is how important discipline is. You let these go, you can't codify everything. You can't make everything punishable offense. You can't have laws on everything. That is the only reason why each community ultimately achieves the success which it does. And if by and large a community, a society is ill disciplined, tends to break rules, tends to be unreasonable, then I do not have to complete that statement. Sacrifices ability to respond to central management direction, no fixed duties, less control of higher authority, lower authority, and that can be a highly problematic situation. So, what is the conclusion? An organization's internal structure exercises control and ensures coordination. It explains and predicts employee behavior. It is linked to overall productivity and profits, reduces ambiguity and clarifies relationships, shapes employees' attitudes and facilitates, motivates the workers. An appropriate or integrated structure may have limited specialization, wide span of control, provide employees greater freedom, ensures team spirit and coordination amongst its employees. As usual, there will be need for references, because this would need to be followed up, and as usual, thank you very much for your attention.